So I had an experience today that for me was both inspiring, sad, and heartbreaking as well. And on one hand, after this experience, I felt energized and recharged as far as what I believe my purpose was. But there was also a sense of anxiety and helplessness that I felt as well. I had the opportunity to work with some students today who society would consider as at risk and those who may have fallen through the cracks or are about to fall through the cracks, and they're working towards bettering themselves educationally, academically. And so I had the opportunity to speak with them today and kind of talk to them about their hopes and their dreams and what their goals are for the future. And a lot of them, in spite of what they have dealt with, being teenagers, some of them have experienced things that even me in my 40s, I couldn't even imagine dealing with. And the story is not new. We hear it all the time. But, being put in things like this, in situations like this, it kind of reiterates why our young people need help and why we need to be there for them and be support systems for them and advocate for them. And I guess in putting it in the mind of what happened yesterday here in Florida, it just kind of drove it home more so. And so these students, they are working through a lot of things. Like I said, some of them have children of their own. Some of them have been in the foster care system. Some of them are still in the foster care system. So they are overcoming a lot of odds to move forward. And some things that I took away from working with them today is that a lot of them are resilient. And so we hear the word resiliency. My degree is in family services, and when I taught at the college level, I taught a class on the family in crisis and how resiliency is important. And one of the missing components that a lot of people lack or don't know how to be resilient or cope with overcoming challenges. And some of these young people, and when I say young, they're not even 18 years old, they are so resilient in so many ways that it blows my mind. Even those students who don't even realize that they are resilient, when you hear their story, I think about one student in particular, and I almost started crying in front of the student. I had to hold it back. This person has experienced so much before the age of 17, to the point that this student feels like there's no hope, or they're almost on the verge of thinking, my life will not get better. And that's not an exaggeration. They've been through so much in this past few months that they feel like, what's the point of hoping? What's the point of thinking of a future? Out of that person's mouth, I dread being 18. I dread becoming 18 years old, because then the systems and the resources that are in place to help me, even though they may not even do what they're supposed to do, I'm afraid they're going to take it away from me when I'm 18. So now here I am dealing with the situation. My family system is all jacked up. And now by law, you expect me to be an adult and take care of myself. And I don't even know what I want to do with my life. I don't even know, what to do. I'm so indecisive about things. And just to sit here and listen to that person talk and think they're only 16, 17 years old. And, a lot of times in the adolescent stage, they're in that in-between, that emerging adulthood where they don't know what they want to do. And most of us have experienced those thoughts, and we did have a strong support system. So imagine what it's like to be in that age and they don't have a support system, or the state is their support system, or, they are in foster care being passed around from one home to another. So imagine what that feels like. And to be that young and to be that young and to think that there's no hope, that really bothered me, because I know this person is not the only one who feels this way. And I'm sorry for crying. I'm not doing this for likes or anything, but it really bothers me that people are this young and they overcome so much, and to still feel as though there's nobody out there for them, and that they might as well just give up. And what's the point? The people who have been in place that said they were going to help them have failed. And sometimes it's not because they don't want to help, it's because they don't know what to do. The situation is so heavy and so overwhelming that you don't know what to do. You have churches, you have government organizations, you have schools, and they are stretched so thin. And there's growing numbers of people and young people who are homeless or on the verge of homelessness or in the foster care system, that you just get tired. You say, I can't help everybody. So to be able to talk to these students and see where they are and put things in perspective, my issues in my 40s, again, imagine what it'd be like to be 16 and 17. So that was the sad part of it. But as I said, on the flip side, being able to talk to the students and even having other students talk to the students to the point that they even started thinking about, well, maybe I could do this and maybe I could do that, or, at least try this, was such an empowering experience to see, and to hear other students' stories of how they've overcome things and been in the foster care system for years and been able to bounce back and thrive in spite of. Those were the things that were empowering to me, to know that, even though they are looking at odds, and a lot of times society has written them off, people in their own families have written them off to say that they can't do certain things, or that they're going to follow in the footsteps of their parents or what have you, a lot of those generational curses, to see that they are working towards breaking them and bettering themselves. That is what is inspiring to me, and that is what keeps me going when I feel like sometimes, am I even making a difference? Because like many other advocates, you feel like you want to change the world, you want to help everybody, and you just can't help everybody. But if you can even reach out to someone and just talk to them, a young person, or even someone who's not even necessarily young, but who are going through different life transitions and they don't know what they want to do, you never know how much you can help a person just by listening to their stories. They didn't have to tell me these things. They don't know me. And for them just to start talking, I felt honored for them to even do that. And to, even with this particular student, kind of see a glimmer of hope that, life may not be as rough. And as I told the student, things may not change overnight. It may take some time, but don't lose hope. And so that's another message for you all, wherever you are in life. Things may not change overnight. It may be a process, but don't lose hope. Don't lose the anticipation and the faith that things will get better. Everything is temporary. The saying, this too shall pass, it really will pass. But a lot of times it's your perception of how you deal with situations and how you see situations. Sometimes the situation won't change, but if your mindset changes and your perception changes, that can be a major factor in helping you deal with life transitions. So I just wanted to share that, with you. There's a lot going on in my head right now, so I'm trying to formulate it, but just the fact that our young people are resilient. And again, I think about what happened yesterday here in Florida. And as horrible as it is, and how they, even though they need our help and our resources, that I really believe that they're going to be able to overcome this and use this as a testimony. So if you ever come across a young person and don't write them off. Don't just assume that because they may act a certain way or they may come from a certain background that they are no good, or that they don't have a future. God has a purpose for everybody. And as I told them, whether they realize it or not, their story will help others. Because if they can make it through, then they'll be able to help those who are behind them. So again, I just wanted to share that with you all. Hope it does some good. And like I said, it brought me some comfort and inspired me to know that all is not lost for our young people. And that's not just in high school, that's college. Those are just coming out of college. But they need our help. They need our mentorship. They don't need for us to be judgmental towards them. And I know they can do things that can aggravate us, but we do things to aggravate them too. But don't give up on them. They need our help, even now more than ever.